Lifting and plyometrics alone are not enough if you're a volleyball player who's looking to get faster and quicker on the court. If you truly want to get faster, you have to do actual speed and agility work that requires you to move as fast as possible. So today I'm going to walk you through one of my lower body workouts that is extremely speed and agility focused so that you can start getting more digs, getting to your blocks quicker, and even increasing your vertical. Really quick, my name is Greg, also known as the Volleyball Strength Coach. I'm a former Division I all-conference opposite. I have a master's degree in sports performance, and I've trained over 1,000 volleyball players to help them jump higher, get faster, and get rid of nagging joint pain. I've been playing volleyball for over 20 years, working in fitness for over 15 years, and this YouTube channel is dedicated to teaching you everything I know about strength and conditioning for volleyball players. So with that being said, let's get into the workout. To start off with our warm-up, we are going to be doing some sled pushes. It's a very specific exercise to warm up our muscles, our tendons, and even our nervous system for the rest of the workout because it's putting us into very specific positions that will directly transfer to the running and things we're going to be doing later. Just remember that the point of this is to be a warm-up, so you don't have to go crazy heavy or make it super fatiguing so you're not more tired for the workout, but you definitely want to get your heart rate up, get some blood pumping, and get your body literally warmed up. In my driveway, I always go down and back twice because it's just not that long, and ideally you're looking for a distance of like 20 yards to do it down and back. I always start light and then I add one plate every set until I get to a weight that is difficult but not super fatiguing. So today I did 4 sets, increasing each time, and I felt pretty good by the time I was done with this. After we got our body warmed up, we're going to do our dynamic warm-up exercises for sprinting. The purpose of these exercises is to help train the positions that we're going to get into when we sprint, so we can not only continue to prepare our body for speed work, but also work on our running technique at the same time, which is eventually going to help us be faster. Keep in mind, again, the goal of this is still to be a warm-up, so you're going to want to start at a pretty low intensity, but then with each set, you're going to want to increase the intensity, the amount of effort, and the amount of speed you do with each of these exercises. For each one of these, I would go about 15 to 20 yards distance, and then I would walk back as my rest period before moving on to the next exercise. Once I finished one set of every exercise, I would take a little bit longer rest, and then I would start all the way over again. The first exercise is called the A skip. You're going to stay on the balls of your feet, drive your knee up to about parallel, and then work on forcefully driving your foot down into the ground. You want to make sure that you're using proper arm drive just like you do when you're running or sprinting, and that means whichever knee goes up, the opposite hand goes up forward as well. Although it can be tempting, I don't want you to focus on jumping up as you do this. I want you to focus on driving your foot down into the ground and staying on the balls of your feet. Don't worry, that's a separate exercise, but we'll get to that later. Next is going to be the B skip, and the B skip is a progression of the A skip where you're not only driving your knee up, but then you're kicking your foot out to better represent the cyclical pattern of the sprinting mechanics. The goal here is still to forcefully bring your foot down to the ground directly underneath your body, not to grab the ground in front of you and pull it through. That is an extremely common mistake people make in running and sprinting. Instead of forcefully slamming into the ground, they'll reach out in front and claw the ground with their foot and pull back. And not only is that actually going to slow you down, but it's also going to leave you more susceptible to hamstring injuries. Next, we move on to the high knee run. The goal of this is to drive your knees up to about parallel, just like before, still drive your feet down into the ground, still while staying on the balls of your feet. This is going to be a bit more sprint specific and a bit faster, and still make sure you're driving your arms like you do when you're running. Exercise number 4 is going to be the butt kicks. Again, staying stiff on the balls of your feet, not letting your heels touch the ground, trying to bring your heel all the way up to your butt cheek, and getting our legs warmed up for the back half of the proper cycle of sprinting. Because when you look at sprint mechanics, you do a high knee in the front, you cycle down, and then you get your foot all the way up to your butt in the back. So we're working on both of those things separately. Finally, we have ankling. And with this exercise, you're keeping your leg mostly straight and still driving your foot down into the ground. That's what you do when you sprint. Again, we're not working on pulling the ground from in front of you, but hitting the ground directly underneath your body and pushing. Because your leg is straight in this exercise, we're working on warming up the hamstrings specifically for the amount of force they're going to take when you sprint. So again, do all of those exercises through, do the exercise down, walk back for your rest, and then take a longer rest in between, and then repeat all of those for 3 rounds. The last exercise that we're going to do before we get into our pure speed work is going to be our one jumping exercise of the day, and that is going to be power skips for height. If you remember when I was talking about the A skips, I said not to be worried about how high you were jumping, but now that is exactly what I want you to do. The actual technique here is the same as an A skip where you're hopping onto one foot and then bounding to the other foot, but this time I really want you to drive that opposite knee up and try to jump as high as you can. What I like to think about doing is actually trying to jump higher and higher each rep of the same set. You can also see, similar to what I said for the warm-ups, that I want you to increase the intensity on each set as well. So I'm starting with a little bit lower intensity, and then across the 3 sets, I'm putting more and more effort until the end end of the third set when I'm jumping as high as I can. I think skipping and single leg jumping in general is a massively underutilized opportunity for volleyball players because we get so focused on 2-foot jumping. Not only can we use different types of 1-foot jumping to increase our just overall athletic abilities, but we're also forcing ourselves to do single leg landings, which is going to help us be better prepared for the inevitable single leg landings that happen when we play volleyball. So that's going to be it for our prep work. And at this point, you should be feeling pretty warmed up and ready to move fast. But just keep in mind that if you're an older athlete like myself, or you have a pretty extensive laundry list of past injuries, just do anything else that you need to do to make sure that you're fully warmed up for this. That could involve some specific dynamic stretches for your hip flexors, your hamstrings, your calves, or just anything else. Just make sure that you do everything you need to do to be warmed up properly. The first speed exercise that we're going to do is something I call the 10-10 cone drill. This is an exercise that we do with every single one of our one-on-one clients and all of the athletes that do the workouts in our community group. So what you're going to do is you're going to take 2 cones and you're going to set them 10 feet apart. And then you're going to shuffle back and forth, touching the cone with your hand each time until you do 10 total touches. Some of the main things I want you to focus on with this are staying low, taking really fast steps, and then work on a quick change of direction once you get to that cone. I am doing this out in the grass, and sometimes it can be a little wet because I work out in the morning when there's still some dew, so you may see me slip on a couple of these. And if something like that were to happen to you, just make sure you recover as quickly as you can and still finish strong. If you play grass volleyball, you know how common something like this is, and in a certain way, this is actually helping prepare your body for that instance. This is something that I highly recommend you time yourself on. And if you're working out by yourself, the best way to time yourself is actually to film yourself. So when you film yourself, you're able to crop the video down to the exact fraction of a second you start moving and the exact fraction of a second that you touch the last cone, which gives you an extremely accurate time for this drill and allows you to see over time that you are in fact getting faster. Obviously, the goal of this is to decrease your time, which means you're getting faster. And again, just like everything else that I do, because I am an older athlete, I start at a lower intensity and then I'll increase the intensity and effort of the exercise over the set so that I'm not going 100% right away. I'm giving my body time to adjust, but I'm going 100% by the end. I did this drill 4 total times with about a 60 to 90 second rest between attempts. The next exercise is my second favorite speed drill, and that is the pro agility, also known as the 5-10-5. If you follow American football, you may see this drill a lot and know that they test it in the NFL Combine. It's a really good combination of short acceleration work with change of direction work, which is very specific to what we actually do in volleyball. For this one, you're going to need 3 cones that are each 5 yards apart, or about 5 meters, which is going to be about 15 feet. You're going to start in the middle cone, pick a direction, sprint to that cone, touch that cone with your hand, sprint all the way past the starting cone to the far cone, touch it with your other hand, and then sprint back through the starting cone. Your time starts when you initiate the movement on the starting cone, and your time ends once your body passes through that starting cone. There are 2 very important things that I want you to focus on when doing this drill. One is to alternate which side you start with. So 1 rep, you go to your right, and then the next rep, you go to your left. Number 2 is to alternate the foot you change direction on. So sometimes it can be very tempting to turn all the way around and continue to use the same leg as you change direction. But obviously that means you're missing out on a very important aspect of training both legs to change direction. So when you start sprinting to your right, change direction on your right foot, and then when you get to your left, change direction on your left foot to come back. Again, if you're training by yourself, the best way to time yourself is to film yourself and then crop the video down to the exact moment you start moving and then the exact moment you pass through the starting cone. I did 3 sets in each direction for 6 total runs. And of course, no speed program would be complete without actual sprinting. So today, because I'm at the beginning of a new cycle, I'm not going to go crazy intense with these. I'm just going to do some sprint starts. With the sprint start, you're really only focused on the acceleration phase of the sprint and only worried about really your first few steps being powerful. If you want to get really specific with this drill, you can actually start in a defensive position and accelerate from there. Or you can do various other things like a staggered start. You can do a lateral stance. You can even start lying on the ground. There's actually a ton of options you can do for sprint starts, but today I'm just going to keep it really simple and I'm going to start with a stagger. One thing to note is if you're doing a very square defensive position, it's that the false step or the backward step before you move forward is actually a good thing. It's a common misconception that this is bad or slowing you down, but it's been proven over and over again that even though you're stepping backwards to start, you end up going faster than if you force yourself to start forward first. Now, personally, I'm a little extra cautious of this because of my history of calf and Achilles injuries. So currently I'm just doing the staggered start so that I don't have to worry about that step back before I push forward. But if you're a younger, healthier athlete and your goal is just to move as fast as possible, then a false step is going to be the fastest way to do a sprint start. I did 6 sprints, increasing the intensity rep over rep, working to about a 70 to 75% max effort. Now, all that being said, if you want to do this with a bit more intensity than I did, you can just do actual longer sprints here. I would recommend somewhere between 10 to 20 yards, working on reaching maximum speed and maximum acceleration. Sprinting is one of the best exercises to help you increase your vertical, so it's an important part of any complete volleyball program. Now, of course, you know that if this is one of my workouts, then we're definitely going to have some lifting in here as well. Because I'm more personally focused on the speed development, I didn't actually do as much lifting today, but of course we have to do some. The first exercise I did was the barbell hang power clean, and I'm slowly reintroducing these because they're obviously great for vertical jump, and they also fit well within the paradigm of a speed-based day. I took my time on the warm-up and only did 5 sets of 3, stopping at a pretty light weight because I haven't done these in a while and I want to make sure my technique was good and I was moving fast. I'm not going to do a full power clean tutorial in this video, but by the time this video comes out, there should be one posted on my YouTube page as a YouTube short. If you prefer not to do Olympic lifting in your workouts or you just don't know how, you could substitute this for a kettlebell swing, something like trap bar jumps, or just a dumbbell weighted jump. For my heaviest exercise of the day, I did some barbell RDLs just to continue emphasizing the posterior chain of the workout. This is a very rare instance where I decided not to do any specific knee or quad-based lifting because I am really trying to emphasize strengthening my posterior chain, like my hamstrings, my glutes, and my lower back. If you've seen some of my recent videos, you know that I am kind of coming off of a minor lower back injury, and it's still kind of tight and a little bit limited, so I'm really taking my time on these to rebuild my strength and confidence in my lower back with these RDLs. I did 4 sets of 6 to 8 reps, increasing weight to my heaviest working set at the end. The final exercise I did do after that was some seated calf raises, but I did not film this. There's a lot of discourse in the exercise community these days about seated calf raises being unnecessary because standing calf raises train the soleus to the same extent and train the gastrocnemius, the main calf muscle, to a higher extent than seated calf raises. And while I understand the research and I agree with this from a hypertrophy standpoint, I do think it's important for athletes to still train the seated calf because of the specificity of the movement and based on the sheer fact that there are other muscles in the lower leg other than the gastroc and the soleus. There's a reason that you see a lot of the highest jumpers in the world still doing seated calf raises. Clearly they're doing something right. So I did 3 sets of 10 to 15 reps just to finish off the workout. So there you have it, full speed and agility workout for volleyball athletes. And this is not only going to help you improve your running technique, get you quicker moving side to side, but also get you sprinting faster and still getting stronger. And although on this channel I give you a ton of free full-length volleyball workouts, if you're interested in getting full access to all of my programs, I have something brand new that you're going to want to hear about. Recently, I started a brand new volleyball community called Volleyball Workouts. And in this community, not only do you get access to 10 of my best volleyball specific workout programs, but you also get added to a community of like-minded volleyball players. You get access to a bunch of free resources and an entire educational course where you can learn about training, nutrition, jump technique, and arm swing technique. Plus, I do a weekly Q&A call in the community to make sure all of your questions are answered and you get the best results possible. Although at the time of this video coming out, this community is brand new, there is no doubt in my mind that this will become the largest and most useful volleyball community on the internet. So if you want to see what the big deal is, click the link in the description or in the pinned comment, and you can actually get a 7-day free trial of the community to try out the workouts and make sure you like it before you ever spend $1. Finally, make sure you drop a like on the video and definitely hit the subscribe button. And then once you do this workout, leave a comment down below with the times you got for the 10-10 cone drill and the pro agility.